Wonder why the Torah was given in the desert? After all, the Torah is the great gift that God gave the Jewish people. Maybe God should have waited until Bnei Israel entered the Promised Land. It would have been a great ceremony. It would have been a great event. As the Jews enter the Promised Land, they are given the great gift of the Torah. It would have been the culmination of their travels through the desert, ending with entering the land of Israel and receiving the Torah, making the Jewish nation complete. Why did God decide instead to give the Torah to Bnei Israel in the desert? Rabbi David Hartman points out something which is very obvious about the desert and also helps us understand why God chose to give us the Torah there. The desert reveals all of human frailty, according to Rabbi Hartman. It's very hard to hide human needs and wants in the desert. In fact, as Bnei Israel are traveling from Egypt to the Promised Land in the desert, they are complaining about water, about food, and they even suggest that it would be better for them to go back to Egypt. The desert is so harsh, the conditions there are so overbearing, that human beings cannot hide the fact that they are human beings and not angels. On the one hand, the Torah says that we are supposed to be a mamlechet kohanim v'goy kadosh, a nation of priests and a holy nation. On the other hand, as we walk through the desert, we complain to God that He's not taking care of us well enough. And so by giving the Torah to Bnei Israel in the desert, God is telling us that He understands and recognizes our shortcomings, and nonetheless, He is still giving us the Torah. Because after all, the Torah was not meant for angels. The Torah was meant for human beings with all of our shortcomings. To that end, there's this beautiful midrash in which the angels complain to God that how could God give Bnei Israel the Torah? How could God give away His most precious gift? God makes Moshe answer, and Moshe says to the angels, look, were you in Egypt? The Torah says that God took us out of Egypt. You don't steal, you don't commit adultery, you don't have the desire to do all of the things that the Torah tries to help us overcome. The Torah is for human beings. Halakha is not always involved in romantic and beautiful and pristine aspects of Jewish life. Halakha is involved in helping human beings create a holy life here on earth, not to help angels create a holy life up in the heavens. And so God gives the Torah to Bnei Israel in the desert, and by doing so, He is telling us that He understands our shortcomings, He understands that we are human, and still, or perhaps precisely because of that, He's giving us the Torah. Our relationship with God, then, is not one in which He expects perfection. It's one in which He expects the struggle, the human struggle. To me, that's a very uplifting point, to recognize that God understands that we are not perfect. He gives us the Torah to help us try to achieve that state, but whether or not we achieve that state of perfection, which none of us probably will, He still gave us the Torah. He still entrusted us with His greatest gift, and nonetheless, and after all is said and done, accepts us as human beings with our frailties. That indeed is a God that inspires me to work with Him and within His system of halakha to make me and indeed the entire world better. Shabbat Shalom.